time to continue on, we are going to be installing our Store Commerce app. Then we're going to open up that Store Commerce app and log in and attach the hardware station. And then we're going to open up our Store Commerce for Web and show you what that looks like. Okay, so in the previous how-tos that we made, we showed you how to create your brand new store and how to do all the setup for it that it needs, and how to do the setup you need to create your registers, both the Store Commerce app and the Store Commerce for Web. So now we're going to actually use those POSs. So let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to know our POS worker ID and password that we're going to be using later on to log in to both of those POSs that are attached to our new store. So here I have on the screen, I'm showing you the workers form inside my environment pointed to the company that I want. And here's my login number here. And if for some reason you have forgotten your password that you set up when you first created this worker, then you can always come in here and change it. If you click on the details, you can go over into the commerce section and then change the password right here and click save. And then run your 1060 distribution schedule job to push down the incremental job push that contains all of the worker information. And then make sure that says applied in your download sessions form. So we know our POS password and our login, so we're ready to go. And so the next thing we would need to do is to download the Store Commerce app file for this version of finance and operations that I'm using. And you download that file from inside LCS in the shared asset library, specifically inside the retail self-service package area. So then you would look through this list, let me expand this out a little bit, and find the version of F&O that you're using, and then the Store Commerce listing for that version. So if I am on 10.0.36, then this is the one I would use for the Store Commerce app. There's others for Android, and then some older ones for MPOS, but that's being deprecated soon. And if still that's not your version, just keep scrolling through until you find the version that you are working on. Okay, so I've already downloaded my particular Store Commerce app file from LCS and I'm ready to go. And so what I like to do is make a folder on the root of my laptop, my C drive, make a folder on that C drive called Store Commerce app and put that downloaded file into that. So this is what that looks like for me. Here's my C drive. I have a folder called Store Commerce app, and then here's my file. So now I need to actually execute this file to make it install the Store Commerce app. And you would think you could double click on it like other programs you install on your computer can do. But actually what you need to do is use PowerShell in admin mode to make it work correctly. And so let's open up PowerShell. I'm just going to go to my computer, the Windows icon down there, and look up PowerShell. And then when I find PowerShell, I'm going to right click on it and say run as admin. I know y'all can't see this, but that's okay. You'll see it when I bring it up. But specifically about running as admin is the key. Okay, so here is my PowerShell window ready to go. The first thing I would need to do is make sure I have the latest .NET framework installed. And there's a couple of commands you have to run in order to make this happen. First, I'm going to get myself back to the root of my C drive. I'm in a directory right now, so I'm just going to do cd /, which is change directory all the way back to the root. Here I am. And then I'll type in my first command. So we're going to type in wingit install Microsoft.NET desktop runtime.7. Then I'm just going to press enter and it will do the install for that. Do you agree with all the source terms? Yes. All right, successfully installed. Now it's time for my second command for the .NET framework. Now you really only have to do this one time. So if you have multiple times when you're trying to install the Store Commerce app, if you already have run these two commands, you're probably good to go to skip this section. So I'll do my second command, wingit install press enter. All right, that's successfully installed. So we're good to go. All right, so now I need to tell PowerShell to change its directory to be where I have the file installed, which is in my C drive and the Store Commerce app, just like that. So let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see everything. And if you haven't used PowerShell before, it just takes a little getting used to, kind of like everybody is used to now inside File Explorer down here, double-clicking onto folders to get into a certain path. PowerShell, you need to tell it where to go to do the basically same thing, right? But you tell it in words. And so we're sitting already at our C drive root, which is great. It's where we need to be. So now we're going to tell it to change directory, CD, and I'm going to tell it the name of my folder here, Store Commerce App. And so since I have some spaces and stuff in the name of my folder, I'm going to put double quotes around that. So CD and then space double quote, and I'm going to type it in exactly as I see it down here. Store Commerce App, double quote, and then press enter. And now it says, okay, I'm sitting inside the C drive and the Store Commerce App folder. Now we will actually type the install command in order to make the file install. So that would be / store. We're going to put in the name of this file that we see exactly here, Store Commerce Installer, exe, space, install, space, hyphen, channel, check, just like that. This extra little argument here is used because I was getting an error when I was trying to run just the install command, this part right here. And so this extra argument is what enabled me to get around that particular problem. I will press enter and make it install. And what we're looking for is it to finish without showing any little errors. Perfect. So now if I scroll back up, I don't see any red errors. That's great. And so that means that our program is installed. So I'm done with PowerShell. I'm just going to type exit to get out of it. And now we're going to look on my computer and find a program called Store Commerce App. So I'm just going to use my Windows icon. I know y'all can't see this. And I'm going to search for Store Commerce App. And I'm just going to regular click it. You don't have to do the admin thing or anything like that. So I'll bring that up. Here we come. Okay, so our Store Commerce app now is ready for us to activate. So here we are on our screen, and I can see that it's asking me to go through the activation process. So let's click next. It already knows our retail server URL, but if we did not have that already, we can always pick that up from inside F&O in the All Stores form. Click on your store and go all the way down, and in this Hardware Stations section, you can see the retail server URL here, and you can also find it in LCS. So we'll just go next. And at this point, it's going to want me to log in with some credentials that have the ability to activate a register. And this comes from the workers setup. So I'm going to go to workers so y'all can see what it looks like. Find myself. And over here in the Commerce section, this external identity alias UPN and external sub-identifier have to be filled in with the creds you need. And that is set up through this Commerce ribbon here, and then associate an existing identity in finding myself. And I also have to have a position assigned that has the rights to activate a reg. Now let's continue on. So we're going to choose our login here. It'll ask us for our password and multi-factor authentication if you have that. All right, so here we go. It wants to know what store you want to do. So we will choose our Denton store and which register you want. And it's really only going to show you the one because that's the only one we have set as a Store Commerce App device type. So I'll click that Denton 1, activate, let it do its thing, click Get Started. Now we're ready to use the POS. So let's log in for the first time and attach our hardware station, because that's always the first thing you do when you activate a new reg is you have to attach the hardware station. And so we'll do that by logging in. And let's do this under the non-drawer operation. We don't need a shift to attach our hardware station. And actually that could get you into some trouble if you try to open a new shift without a hardware station. You might get yourself into a chicken and the egg situation with trying to connect to peripherals and it doesn't have it. So I'll do the non-drawer, which is not a shift. Come over to our home screen and then select a hardware station. Turn on the hardware station. Click OK. And it knows that there's a local host going on. I like to click on it a couple of times. That's my little superstition. And then click close. Let's turn off this app tour because it drives me crazy. So I'm going to go into the screen here, turn this off so we don't have to see that again. And now let's log off, log back on. Now let's open a new shift. And let's go ahead and put in our starting amount just to get us into this shift. It's always the first thing we have to do. So declare start amount. I'll put in that we have $1 and save it. And now, since I attached my hardware station and on our register, we said that the hardware profile is using that one that's printing to PDF. It's now bringing up an opportunity for me to save this printout with a name. So I'll give it a name. Let's make myself a new folder. And I'll call it opening amount. Then we can go look at that PDF later if we like to. All right, so here's our Store Commerce app. It's ready to go. It's got a shift. The hardware station's attached. I'm ready to go off and rolling and selling some stuff with this POS. So now let's take a look at getting into our Store Commerce for web. So I'm going to log off of here. I'll go ahead and close this. And then let's go to our devices form because I need the URL for my Store Commerce for web because that is an entirely cloud-based POS. And you can use it pretty much any browser, but I like to use Chrome. Let's find our Denton 2 store. That's the cloud POS. Right over here is my URL. So let's click on that. Now I've already gone through the whole activation process for this particular one. It's exactly the same as it is for the Store Commerce app. Same questions, same path, all that. But I went ahead and logged in so that you can see that it comes right to it because it remembers who it is unless you clear your cookies later on down the road. And from here, I would just log in and do the things I need to do. I don't need to worry about attaching the hardware station to this one because I have the hardware profile set up of none. So it doesn't need me to do that step. Now, if I wanted to change this CloudPOS to point to a different store on my same environment, I can totally do that by going to this little hamburger icon right here. Remember, I told you I was going to show you that. Click on the hamburger, click on settings, and then click this reset button. That would take me all the way back through the activation process, and I can choose a different reg, or I can choose a different store, or both. So now that we have both of our POSs set up and ready to go, let's open up that Store Commerce app one more time. And let's go ahead and do a transaction since we already have a shift open, and so we can see those transactions flow in to D365. All right, I know that I have a shift started already because I have a 1 up here. Here is my register number. I've already put in my starting amount of $1. So let's sell something. So I'll go over here to the transaction. I will look up an item to sell. Let's use our little navigation hierarchy that we assigned. So if I go into fashion sunglasses, so this is that fashion hierarchy that we attached in the channel categories and product attributes. Click on the glasses I want. I can either click add item if I want to add it to my cart and stay in this screen so I can add more things, or I could click sell now to add it to my cart and take me to my cart. So let's just do sell now. I can see my cart has incremented to have 1 item. Here's my item here. That's what I have as my total. If I have a customer to attach to this transaction, I can. If I leave this blank, then it will be attributed to the default store customer assigned to my store. So let's just leave it without any customer attached and just pay. So whenever I like to tender, I don't like to put all the buttons on my screen of all the possible payment methods that I have. It takes up a lot of real estate and you don't really need it because you can click on this blue number here and it shows you the payment method slide out screen anyway. A little pro tip from me to you. So let's just finish this out with cash. I'll say cash and they're going to give me even cash, $138.13. So I'm going to press blue button here because it already has the amount that they're giving me. When I see the change due screen, I know life is good, everything's fine. Close that out. And now let's go and finish out our shift so that our trickle feed statement posting can pick this up. We need to put in how much money we're ending our shift with. So I will say that I have 139. I'll click save for that. And now the last step, I have to close my shift. So let's close it. Now my shift is closed and I should be able to see that transaction as soon as the P job runs to bring that in. So let's go check out when the P job is going to run. So remember we talked about how we take jobs to push data down to the POS? Well, there is a job that brings data back from the POS into D365. That is called the P-001 job. Everybody usually calls it the P job. It kicked off at 4:35 and now it's waiting and it's going to run again in 5 minutes because I have it running every 5 minutes. But just in case that didn't catch what we needed it to catch, we can always go kick that off again from the distribution schedule. Scroll down to the P job and say run now. So this is just going to run a one-off version of the P job. My recurring one is still going to be there. Here's my recurring one, but here's the one I just kicked off. Let's wait for that to finish. All right, that one's done. So now let's go see the transaction we did. So that's going to be in the store transactions form. And then here's my Denton store. Whenever you come into this form, it's going to automatically default to show you everything from the last 2 weeks. And so for us, that's okay. But if that has more information than you need, change your filters and all that. So here's all the stuff we have done on that POS. We've logged in, tender declaration, closing shift, all that. Here is our transaction that we did. And I can tell because it's a type of sales. And here's our receipt number that we had. We didn't attach a customer, so it's going to go to the default store cust. There's our amount, etc., etc. So success. We made a new store. We made a store commerce app. We used it, we logged in, attached the hardware station, we made a transaction, and we can see that resulting transaction in D365. We also made a store commerce for web POS. We didn't use that one in this particular video, but the results would have been the exact same that we did for store commerce app, except it wouldn't have printed any receipts and we didn't have to attach a hardware station. And so that is the whole thing, everybody, from end to end, how to get your new store and POSs set up and ready to use. Thanks for hanging out with me. See y'all later.